Bibles in their language, churches nearby, friends or co-workers who are potentially Christians, or access to other Christian resources in their language. These people have access to the good news, but just haven't acted on it yet. This segment of the population is called World B. That leaves us with 29% of the world, just over 1 out of every 4 people on this planet who not only have never heard of Jesus, they have no chance of hearing the good news of Jesus Christ. They have no access to the gospel, no Bibles, no churches, no believers nearby, no chance to learn about Jesus. We call that 29% World A. Now on to missionaries. Only 1 out of every 1,800 Christians in World C decides to serve as a cross-cultural missionary. So, we can pull 400,000 missionaries out of that World C population. That's our total cross-cultural missionary force worldwide. Did you know that 72% of all our missionaries are going to World C? That's right. The vast majority of the missionaries being sent out are going to the people of the world that have Bibles and established churches. 25% of the missionaries are sent to World B, where there is already some access to the church and to the Bible. That leaves only 3% of the total missionary force to handle all of World A, the section of the population without any chance of hearing about Jesus. 29% of the world has no way to hear the gospel, but we're sending only a tiny portion of our Christian workers to them. What about finances? Annually, all those Christians in World C earn a total of $42 trillion. And together, they give about $700 billion to Christian causes each year. That includes everything: Christian nonprofits, churches, youth programs, missions, etc. Can you do the math? Less than 2% of Christian income is being given to Christ's causes. Out of that $700 billion given to all Christian causes, only $45 billion is given to missions specifically. That's a little over 6%. In fact, there is more money reported embezzled from the church each year than is given to missions. Remember those 400,000 missionaries? We have $45 billion to support them and their cross-cultural work. But how exactly is it allocated? Well, $39 billion goes to World C every year. Yep, 87% of that missions money is being spent in areas of the world that have Bibles and churches available. $5.4 billion, or 12%, goes to World B each year, those that have access to the gospel message but have rejected it. That leaves only $450 million, or 1% of all missions money going to World A, the least reached people of the world. To put that into perspective, annually Americans spend more money on Halloween costumes for their pets than gets sent to World A. To summarize, only 3% of our missionary force, armed with only 1% of missions giving, is going out to reach the 2 billion people who don't have access to the gospel. 2 billion people are still waiting for the good news of Jesus Christ. So here's a question for you. What are you going to do to change that?
Getting myself set up over here. So I am Rachel Copeland, and this is my husband, Adam. Many of you know us, but I know quite a few of you don't. So I just want to introduce ourselves real quick before I get into kind of what we're looking to do. So we are missionaries with Ethnos 360, which is an organization that is specifically focused on reaching that almost quarter of the world that still doesn't have access to Christ. We've been gone on and off a lot the last few years, as many of you know. We've been doing our training with Ethnos, which included Bible school when it was here in Jackson. We went to Durham, Ontario to do our missionary training, which was all about how to teach in a cross-cultural situation. And then this last year, we were doing our linguistics training in Missouri, which is all about breaking down the language and how to take a previously unwritten language and give them an alphabet so they can have a Bible in their language. So all of this we are doing because we want to go to West Africa. And even though it is an area that many missionaries have gone over the years, there's still a lot of darkness there. The map that should be going up on the screen, there it is, has a lot of dots on it, as you can see, and each one of those dots represents a people group. The green dots all represent people groups that have access, that have believers, but you can see there are still a very large cluster of red dots, and those are people who are considered to be completely without access still. Those red dots on that map in West Africa represent millions of people. Those people have no hope, they have no access to Jesus, and they are living and dying in that state right now, without access to ever hearing the good news of what Christ has done for us. Adam and I want to be a part of those people groups hearing about Jesus, having a Bible in their language, and eventually having a thriving church that is led by elders from among their own people, and reaching out to the people groups around them. But ultimately, Adam and I, we can't do this alone. We need a body of believers around us who are willing to partner with us and want to see the gospel reach the world. So how can we partner together? And there are a lot of different ways. The first and the most important thing you could ever do for us is pray for us. The task Adam and I are facing, it's impossible. We are not equipped to go out and reach into a world that is so dark and bring it light into a culture and language that isn't even our own. But we also have a God who is the God of the impossible. It is through his power, and he is the one in control. And we need your prayer to rest in that and to trust in him. A second way you can partner with us is finances. Missionaries do, this does not want to click for me this morning. There we go. Missionaries do live off monthly support, so we can focus on things like learning the language, teaching, translating. And if you want to know more about that, feel free to come talk to us. We'd love to chat with you about it. A third way you can partner with us is to just stay in contact with us and communicate with us. Missionaries can get so isolated so easily on the fields. You're disconnected from friends, from family, and just to have an email from someone that says, hey, I care about you, I'm praying about you for you, it means a lot. And that's a huge way you can encourage and partner with your missionaries. We also do send out a monthly newsletter, and typically I would pass a clipboard around, but in the middle of Corona, wasn't sure that was wise. So I put our phone number and our email on the screen. If you'd like to be added to that, go ahead and contact us. And honestly, if you just want to talk to us about anything, please get a hold of us. If you have questions, if you want to get to know us better, if you need prayer for something, please let us know. We'd love to be a part of that. And then the last thing you can do is to get involved yourself. First and foremost, talk about it with other believers. There are so many people out there that don't actually know that there's still a quarter of the world that doesn't have access to Jesus. So let other believers know, talk about it. And you can also figure out what you can do yourself as a missionary if you want to, both here or overseas. Not every missionary is teaching, translating, doing linguistics if that's not your thing, though we need more of that too. But if you're an accountant, a pilot, a mechanic, an IT guy, really just about anything can be used and is very, very necessary. And you can check out ethnos360.org to learn more about that. Thank you for giving us a few minutes this morning, and Adam's going to come and bring the message.
Good morning. Ooh, nice hearing the echo back. I was practicing the other day in here, and I didn't hear anybody talking back to me, which is probably a good thing since nobody was here. The last time I was speaking at a church, I didn't have an elevated stage to stand on, so I'm really hoping I don't accidentally walk off the front of it, because that'd be a little awkward. Before I actually start, I'm just going to open us into prayer and try and give this message to God. To be like you. But so he gave this vision that he said for the church and for believers, and this morning he and Eden